Male seahorses giving birth. Imagine getting knocked up by a girl you don't even like, and then you have to go through the entire pregnancy, the pains, and the mood swings. Most guys can't even imagine it, but the male seahorses have flipped the script, and they're the ones that actually get to experience the joys and pains of childbirth. Let's say if this was happening to guys in the human world, we would have 9 months of pregnancy vacations. So it all starts with the male seahorse dancing seductively to impress the female seahorse. The female then transfers her eggs into the male's brood pouch, which is a high-tech womb. It provides everything from food, nutrients, and oxygen to the embryo. Picture men having a pouch like a kangaroo carrying around their babies. But the worst part comes when the innocent animal goes into labor. It's as if a female seahorse cursed the males, and they have to go through labor for all eternity. They all give birth to hundreds of tiny seahorses, which are then released into the ocean. But the male seahorses are also inspired by humans, so right after becoming a dad, they start looking for new ways to get laid. Even the pains of labor couldn't change the fact that men will be men. Honeybees waggle dance. Let's say you're an adorable honeybee who has just spotted a flower and now you need to bring your gang to the location. You're afraid that you might get lost or separated on the way. So instead you decide to wiggle your butt in the beehive and give them an exclusive concert experience. But this isn't random twerking like in hip-hop songs. The bee twerks at a certain angle and vibrates with a frequency that could tell other bees the direction and distance of the flower. So the bee's waggle dance is more like Google Maps of the animal kingdom. And it's not just a solo concert, the other bees also come closer to the rockstar bee and start touching and feeling it for vibrations. At this moment, the scene is quite similar to a stripper dancing in the middle of thirsty men. Well, let's just assume that their intentions are pure and that they're just touching the bee for directions to the flower. The intensity of the bee's butt shake also tells whether the flower is just meh or the bee has hit a nectar jackpot. So if you think Nicki Minaj takes the cake as the best butt wiggler, don't write off bees until you actually see them twerking. Dolphins' tools. Now you're swimming in the ocean, enjoying the sight of majestic coral reefs, when you suddenly see a dolphin picking up a sponge with its jaws. This definitely looks like a scene right out of some commercial, but the dolphin doesn't start washing dishes. Instead, it uses the sponge to probe the sand of the ocean floor to find fish hidden under the surface. And this isn't just a random quirk. Dolphins have learned to break off sponges, hold them steadily in their mouths, and then use them to dig the surface of the ocean years ago. Not only that, dolphin moms actually teach their kids how to use them, similar to how your mom taught you how to use a spoon and fork. Now, baby dolphins first learn to use the sponge to protect their soft snout from the rocks and critters on the ocean surface, but eventually they start using it for everything. It's like we start using phones for just calling, and now we use them for almost everything like checking the time, calculating, and even calling a cab. However, these sneaky dolphins don't stop at sponges. They also use conch shells to hunt fish hiding inside. Then they stick their snouts in the shell and shake it really hard. The fish falls out and the dolphin gets its meal served right at its doorstep. It's a pity that our backbencher fish is not as smart as the nerdy dolphin. Octopus's camouflage. Let's say you're a seahorse playing around in the ocean, you're best friends with an octopus, but there's a pickle. Whenever you two play hide and seek, you can never find the octopus. It just disappears like your friends when you ask them to plan a trip. But in this case, our octopus has a valid reason for it. So octopuses are basically chameleons of the sea because they have special cells that can make them change color and shift their patterns and texture. Imagine if girls had this superpower, the skincare companies would have gone bankrupt. One second they're an old and crusty rock, the other second they turn into lush and colorful coral reefs. So you're definitely not winning the game of hide and seek with an octopus. Just give up and go home. And this entire camouflage works best when it's paired with the ink bomb of the octopus. So when a shark approaches them, they fire an ink bomb. The water gets completely black, basically from the ink, and then the shark can't really see anymore. This is the octopus's cue to run for its life, and then it camouflages itself before the shark can regain its vision. Dolphins getting high. Imagine walking down the aisle and finding a perfect joint that sends you to the seventh sky. Dolphins have recently discovered something similar, because they're getting high now. So it all started when scientists started noticing that dolphins are ripping apart all the fish they catch except for the pufferfish. They tend to play with the pufferfish and toss it around. Seems pretty harmless, but scientists discovered that pufferfish releases a toxin to defend itself. In smaller doses, the toxin can work as weed and get dolphins high. Now imagine dolphins just laying in the water aimlessly and laughing for no reason. And it was also found that the dolphins have been getting high on pufferfish for quite a while now. They probably know how to roll a joint at this point. Dolphins that were high actually seemed fascinated by everything and were in a trance-like state. So if dolphins discover beer, then it's definitely over for us. Ravens mimicking wolf. Ravens always had a bad reputation for being the villain of the sky. If you offend them, just know that they're gonna come for you and make you suffer by shitting on your car every single day, until you drop to your knees and start bawling like a baby. But these ruthless villains are also geniuses because they found the sneakiest way to get their food. Let's say you're a raven surviving in the harshest weather. You spot a pack of wolves enjoying a buffet while you've been starving for days. At this time, even a rotten tomato would taste like heaven. So you figure out a way to distract the wolves. You start off by mimicking the howl of the wolves, and when they drift out to find a member of their pack, you fly to the corpse, get your share, and fly away. It's like you distracting your siblings to steal their food. Ravens have excelled this howl over the years, and now they sound exactly like the wolves, so it's easier to fool the pack. And ravens even travel with wolves, so they're the stalkers that harm you and also never leave your side. Ravens have also learned to live with wolves, and at times they even give them directions about where the prey could be. And when the wolves find the prey, they're happy to share it with the ravens. It's similar to Tom being friends with Jerry after years of them being at each other's throat. Clownfish gender swap. Let's say you're a male clownfish and the biggest fish in your group is a female. When she dies, your group is left with no leader, so you would typically find another female. But that's far from what clownfish do. If you're the biggest male clownfish, you'll actually change your own gender, become a female, and then rule the group. Your testes will start degenerating and you will start forming ovaries, turning into a fully fledged female clownfish. Let's just hope people don't learn any lessons from this gender swap. So clownfish change their gender because they're all born as males, and a group of guys can't even locate their socks. So they definitely can't care for the entire group. That's when the biggest clownfish decides to turn into a woman and take over the group. It's similar to how some people are changing their gender and playing female sports. The colonies of clownfish are actually centered around female clownfish, so men probably feel a little taken for granted, which is why they decide to just become a female clownfish. Why fix a problem when you can just change your entire gender? It looks like male clownfish are the fuckboys of the ocean, never respected or taken seriously, but probably because they deserve it. Bowerbird's nest. If you think your interior design would shame professionals, wait until you see the bowerbird's nesting abilities. Now let's say you're a male bowerbird, spending months gathering sticks and petals to create the biggest and most extravagant hut. And then you perform the real magic and start decorating your hut, adding blue flowers, bottle caps, berries, anything that's blue. So bowerbirds have kind of a blue fetish, as they gather all the blue things, and the genius ones even make blue paint by crushing berries. Once all the blue decorations are done, bowerbirds then add the last touches like feathers, shells, and even glass to make the nest look like it has been created by an interior-obsessed rich wife. And the work of the bowerbird is not done yet, because after creating these designs, the bowerbird stands in front of its masterpiece and starts dancing. The bird fluffs its feathers, struts around, and wiggles its butt to impress the female bowerbird. After all this hard work, the female bowerbirds still have a choice of picking who they want to be with. It seems like the bowerbirds have a better handle on their dating life than we do. And if the bird is not creative, it won't get laid, so it has no other option than to up its game. Opossums playing dead. Picture this, you're an opossum just going about your day, munching on bugs and fruit, when suddenly you hear something. This is when your fight or flight response gets active, and you decide to do neither of those things. Instead, you channel your inner actor and lay right there on the ground playing dead. And this acting is not just closing your eyes and keeling over, it's a high budget production for opossums because they actually put their body into a state of being dead. They go completely limp, their tongue rolls out, and their heartbeat slows down so much that the predators can't really hear it. It's like pretending to be sick in front of your boss to get a few days off. But the opossums really stick to the jig by releasing a foul-smelling fluid from its anus. The scent is so bad that a predator would rather eat shit than eat the opossum. Most predators also prefer their prey alive, so they don't really care about a dead possum. And this is how playing possum works. No one would like their meal to be a dead, rotting animal, unless you're Jeffrey Dahmer, the famous cannibal, of course. Elephant's mourning. Imagine seeing your cat cry over the death of its distant relative from across the street. We've never seen that, but that's probably because cats are mean. But there's one animal who's so emotionally intelligent that it cries and mourns the death of its loved ones. Picture this, an elephant herd spots the bones of their deceased relative. The elephants get closer to the bones and use their trunks to caress the remains. It's their way of saying the last goodbye. They all gather around and mourn the death of their relative. Some elephants even shed tears for their family and feel their pain. It's as if the animals are holding a funeral service for their loved ones. And if it's a close relative, like a mother or a girlfriend, elephants could stand beside their dead body not just for hours, but for several days. They even try to cover the body with leaves and provide the deceased with a comfortable resting place. And even weeks or months after the death, they can return to the same spot to pay their respects. It's like you coming back to your childhood home to find some peace. Orcas slapping prey. Orcas are like these psycho killers of the sea. Let's say you end up entering an orca's territory, they'll swim at you with the highest speed, and they'll flip, drown, and even slap you until you die. And they won't just drown you once, but they'll pull you in the water and then bring you back up for some air and then drown you again. This is like a never-ending cycle of torture, and orcas get happiness out of your misery. Now, orcas weigh around 12,000 pounds, and when they ram into you, it's like getting hit by a massive truck. Instead of just eating their prey and getting it over with, orcas drown them repeatedly, slap them with their tail, and toss them from one side to the other. Recently, orcas have also been ramming into boats, causing them to sink. So your next cruise trip could turn into a nightmare if a few orcas decide to give you a hard time. A lot of scientists have also been studying the sadistic behavior of orcas, and they found no explanation of why orcas don't just kill their prey, but drown them and toss them around, almost playing with them. It's like the child playing with its nuggets before finally eating them.